Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Vicky Trabosh, and I am so honored that you are here with me today at this event. I'd like to start by asking you a question. What would you like to get out of this day? What would you like to get out of this meeting? Are you discouraged? Are you a leader who has maybe lost their way and is looking for direction? Are you battling adversity of any kind? Do you need a bit of inspiration? Well, all of that works. And I hope today you find that inspiration. You find that transformational moment where you say, that's right, I can do that. I want to share with you personally how I have come far in the face of adversity and offer you some tools. I've done this event a number of times now, and each time it's a little different because as I go through this journey, as I hope you will, I am learning more every single time. If you want to learn more about me, go to victoriatrabosh.com. I won't bother you with my history and everything, but you can go to my website and learn more about me. And I'm an author, speaker, and coach. And recently, really recently, I've realized I'm a warrior. I fight battles all the time, as do you. And when I battle adversity, I want to beat it like it owes me money. I don't know why that makes you laugh, but I'm not a violent person, but I do want to beat adversity. And the more engaged I become on this topic, the more encouraged I am that there are ways to face adversity that people are ignoring and we're not getting to. So learning to face adversity is something that is called post-traumatic growth. And that is an idea that from adversity comes wisdom. You know the saying, there's a silver lining on every dark cloud. It's the wisdom when we grow deeper in learning and awareness of what is possible. Maybe, like me, you've gone through adversity and you have a renewed appreciation of your life. Maybe you've enhanced your personal strength. Maybe you realize that adversity is nothing more than part of your life's path. I heard a friend recently say that his mother always said to him, if we all put our troubles on the table together, we take back our own troubles. That's true for me. I watch other people go through things and I think, I don't know how they do it. And yet I figured out how I've done it too. And possibly you want to grow stronger through meaningful relationships. There's also spiritual growth that happens with a deep dive into your adversity and how adversity can make you stronger. So in the next few minutes, I'd like to give you some background. I also have a free gift at the end of this to offer to you just for watching. No obligation, and I think it will help you take the lessons you're hearing and learn more. I recently received my master's in anthropology and archaeology from Harvard University with a thesis focused on ending the use of child soldiers as weapons of war. Child soldiers know adversity. In 2016, I spoke at the United Nations on behalf of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, and I gave a TED Talk in 2018. I've had a heart attack, and I'm a cancer survivor. And I realized what I'm drawn to understanding in my life is how to be able to serve others as I listen to their stories. Now, the definition of adversity is a misfortune, a troubling situation, or a hardship. There are many types of adversities that you can encounter in your life, and some reoccurring themes are self-doubt, physical injury or illnesses, rejection, poverty, losing a loved one, and struggling to succeed in your selected career. But truly, adversity is where you confront your deepest fears and insecurities. These manifest in all sorts of ways. Self-doubt is a big one because so many people just struggle to find their reason for living. And not in the simple ways, but in existential ways. The why am I here question. And what am I here to do in the world? But I'd like to stop and remind you of something. Do not fear the future, for it will come. Do not run from adversity, for it is of no use. And do not doubt that you have the strength to overcome any obstacle. Recently, my latest adversity has been cancer. And when I was down in Miraval in Tucson, Arizona, I was talking about facing adversity and I messed it up and I said AdFARsity. So that's where the new word was born. And the far in adversity stands for faith, acknowledgement, and recognition. Faith, acknowledgement, and recognition. And as I'm writing a book about adversity, I came upon a new term for me: post-traumatic growth. An idea from Ariel Schwartz, who wrote a workbook on post-traumatic growth. And this idea of post-traumatic growth comes from Joseph Campbell, who was an American professor of literature, and he introduced the world to the concept of the hero's journey, or a monomyth, as it's called, in his work in the 1940s, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Now, Campbell's theory posits that all mythic narratives are based on a single story, a monomyth, and that is centered on a hero who ventures out from the ordinary world into the realm of the supernatural, encounters fabulous forces, wins a decisive victory, and returns from the adventure to bestow his or her wisdom on another. The hero's journey, with its metamorphosis on adversity, its metamorphosis through adversity, offers a lens so we can challenge our own lives. What are we learning? What are we learning from our personal battles and lessons? That they have the power to transform us, echoing the narrative arc of heroes' journeys across all times. If you look at any spiritual works, the Bible, the Quran, it is all about the hero's journey. And these journeys, whether you're interested in those stories or not, help us to understand that in our individual quests, the post-traumatic growth provides a hopeful perspective on suffering, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for renewal and rebirth. Joseph Campbell invites us to look as heroes of our own story, navigating the trials and tribulations of the human experience with the potential for profound growth and transformation. And I agree with Joseph Campbell. We can become the hero of our own story. You are the hero of your own story. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. And knowing we are our harshest critic, remember, when you look back at what you've accomplished, you will be amazed at your own strength. It was hard won, not necessarily chosen, but life-changing. So let me talk about AdFARsity. The F stands for faith. Someone once said, if you fail to go within, you go without. I believe finding faith in something other than myself is important to support me. And yes, I'm talking about a spiritual practice. Some of you may say, I have no spiritual practice. That's fine. And frankly, to be honest, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you find all the resources within yourself. But a spiritual practice is not necessarily the Judeo-Christian way. It can be a meditation. For you, meditation may be difficult, and you meditate with one eye open, kind of watching what's going around. But there's a woman named Pema Chodron who does a really good job, Pema Chodron, talking about meditation. And she speaks of Shenpa, which is the urge that hooks us, that triggers our habitual tendency to close down. And in meditation, that looks like this. I'm meditating, I'm thinking about my life, and then suddenly I start to think about, a ham sandwich sounds really good for lunch. That's Shenpa. And then, of course, we feel badly that we're thinking about ham sandwiches instead of centering our life. But we get tightened for a moment, and then we search for relief. And I think that often happens when we face adversity and we become afraid. I know that every journey I've gone through difficult adversity, I did not imagine what it would be like. I think the fear would have paralyzed me. But as I started to go through the adversity, I was able to handle it. And I did it with a belief in something unseen outside of myself. And that may be difficult for you, but it is possible. And I encourage you to look at your spiritual walk and say, what do I believe in? Now, for many of you, your spiritual practice might be activity, and you like physical challenges that remind you of what is possible. When we have overcome difficult physical challenges, we're like, wow, what else am I able to do? There's enough videos on YouTube to show you what the impossible looks like. Years ago, when I was at Miraval in Tucson, I did something called the quantum leap. And there was this 25-foot telephone pole, and you had to climb up the pole. You had not a leash, harness. Leash might have worked. I had a harness on, climbed a 25-foot pole. And when you get to the top, there was a disc on it that was a little wider than the pole. And you had to pull yourself up and stand on the post and turn 180 degrees and jump off. Quantum leap. Well, that disc was moving. And I got to the top of that disc, and for whatever reason, I could not hold on low to the disc and bring my knee between my chest and my pole. And I thought, what am I going to do? I can't do it. And everybody down below is shouting encouragement, and I leaned and I looked down and I go, shut up. They were quiet because I had to figure this out. And I thought, well, the only way I can do it is to let go of the pole, stand up. When I get to the top, carefully bring my foot around the disc, which is now moving, bring my other foot around the disc, stand and turn. And I did it. And as I stood at the top of that pole, the entire pole started to move, literally move. But I stood at the top of that pole and I looked out at the mountains in Tucson and I thought, what am I capable of? It was the quantum leap for me. And when you go inside, when you think about that, you think about, what am I capable of doing? In the 70s, I dated a guy who loved two people, Elvis Presley, Muhammad Ali. Now, I did not love these two guys, but I love the guy that loved the two guys. So I listened to him talk about them, and I gained an appreciation for both men, but especially Muhammad Ali. Now, I am not a prize fighter. I've never hit a soul in my life, but I began to understand the beauty of fighting, the art to it. And Muhammad Ali was an artist in this field. And what astounded me was not the violence, which was hard to watch, frankly, but the fact that people would get knocked down and get back up. How did they get back up? And I think that's the human spirit. And if you ever wanted to watch someone who's down in a fight, people start to scream, stay down. And people get up. And sometimes we want to get up. And I want you to think about what is possible when we get back up. And I know that our spirit wants to succeed. I know our spirit wants to face adversity and go far in the face of it. And faith is really important. If you practice a religion, it can bring you comfort, but it can also bring you confusion. So if you look beyond religion to the faith itself, I encourage you to find something that gives you calm and peace. And I want to remind you to have faith in yourself. I first got oral cancer in 2014, and nothing surprised me more. I dealt with it in 2014 and 2015 with 36 radiation treatments to my face. And then in 2022, it came back with a roar. I had part of my palate removed, and I had a surgery in February of 2023 that took a bunch of teeth, took skin and put it in my mouth and paralyzed my face. And I couldn't chew food well. And then, because there's never enough, all my upper teeth got loose in the last 6 months from the radiation in 2015. But I had implants put in 7 weeks ago, and they really tore up my mouth. And I still can't chew food. I'm still drinking fluids. I'm still drinking liquids. But, I have to speak because there is something more important than my own suffering. In my thesis on child soldiers for Harvard, I reviewed a film by a director named Ryan Singal, who wrote a beautiful movie called Children of War. And Ryan embedded himself in a rehabilitation camp for child soldiers and told a heartbreaking and beautiful story of the hero's journey of these children. They were kidnapped, they were abused, and they were there to heal. And when I was interviewing him for my thesis, I asked him how he handled all the suffering he saw. And he said something that changed my life. He said, all suffering is impermanent. All suffering is impermanent. And it's a Buddhist belief, but it was powerful to me. And it helped me have faith in myself that I could endure any pain that came my way because it was impermanent. Now, whether we are suffering psychic pain or emotional pain or physical pain, I now know and believe that all suffering is impermanent, and it gives me comfort. When I go through these surgeries and I am faced with moments of pain, I literally start to think all suffering is impermanent, and it eases my suffering. And with faith also comes forgiveness. Now, that's a longer story, of course. But when we learn to forgive others in our life that have wronged us, we move on. Part of the program that I'm going to talk about at the end is a year-long presentation where we will focus on faith, understand how to forgive others, and find forgiveness not for the perpetrator of those that harmed us, but for ourselves. I was paralyzed by accident by the surgeons in February. And I was so angry about it. But I worked on forgiving them because I knew they wouldn't do it on purpose. And if they watch this video, they'll be surprised to learn that I forgave them because I never told them I was angry. It's not a lawsuit sort of situation. It's a consequence of surgery. But I have come to learn that we are all the same. I do not put people on pedestals, whether they're a surgeon, an athlete, some social media or political star. We are all the same, and we all deserve and require forgiveness. Forgiveness in Rwanda is a powerful idea. Gacaca, which is called justice in the grass, is a concept that the women and men of Rwanda in the 1994 genocide against Tutsi suffered when 1 million people died in 100 days. 1 million people in 100 days. 10,000 people a day died. Plus, the trauma created by that was severe. And every year on April 7th, people are re-traumatized. But the president realized, though they didn't have a lot of psychological care at the time in Rwanda, that they needed to have a form of forgiveness to the perpetrators called gacaca, G-A-C-A-C-A. And it means justice in the grass. And it was a concept used in the villages of Rwanda to settle arguments. The people in the community who would have a disagreement would come in front of the elders and they would talk. I had the great honor of attending a gacaca in Rwanda. And as I sat there, the perpetrators of the genocide, which were in prison, probably a prison that was supposed to hold 3,000 people was holding 30. And they needed to do something to move people out. And unless they were the genocidaires, the ones who started the genocide, they were just the followers, they were allowed to come to gacaca and sit in front of family members and admit what they had done. It did not stop them from being sentenced, but it allowed them to get back into the community and start to rehabilitate. It was the most powerful ceremony I've ever been to. And not everyone asked for forgiveness. Some prisoners stood there and they were all in pink, which was quite emasculating, to tell the truth. And they say, I didn't do it. And I watched the people have such pain. They just wanted the perpetrators to admit what they had done. Forgiveness is given whether the person understands it or not, and it begins to heal us. So that's about faith with a little bit of forgiveness. The A is acceptance. Accepting what is a problem when we have to put, as my friend Jan always said, got to put the skunk on the table. What's actually going on? This is where a therapy or a coach can be of great help. We have to admit what's happening. We have to talk about it. We have to accept this journey, this hero's journey we're on. And every one of my family and friends know I have a 0 wine policy. Now, I do have a robust red wine policy, but that's a little different. Whining is different than speaking your fears. And it's more of a yes thought response that begins to seep into your conversation. That if you could have regular conversations and you put the skunk on the table, how could those around you help solve your problems? When you talk to a surgeon, if you've ever done this, and they begin to tell you about the surgery and what to expect, my usual response is, what are you going to do? But I have to accept the fact that I have choices to make always. And if I choose to have the surgery or I choose not to, that is my choice. But I have to accept the consequences of the surgery. The other thing I've learned is that suffering is a time issue. I remember when I had the surgery in February, I said, well, how long till I'm back? They said about a year. I said, a year? It's now been a year and 2 months. And it's been almost 7 weeks since I had my teeth pulled and my implants put in. And I talked to a guy at my surgeon the other day, and he has implants. I said, well, how's it going? He goes, well, good. And I said, how long did it take to heal? He said, a year. I said, oh, God, another year? He said, but you know what? I can bite concrete. I will look at the day that I can bite concrete like crazy. Not yet. I'm just doing liquids. But we have to acknowledge what's going on. And you know what made us all acknowledge what was going on? When the world had to put the skunk of COVID on the table. And look at how it affected us all. In 2020, I was part of a research group with the Institute of Coaching, where we interviewed leaders around the world, many in the medical field, to find out how they were handling adversity. And the results were shocking. They realized, because they were on a screen, they had their little screen, and they were looking at people that they were yelling at, which they weren't used to doing. Nobody usually looks at themselves when they're yelling at somebody else. But they realized to handle the adversity of COVID, they had to show more empathy for themselves and others. Now, here's my question. Do they still do that? Did you have a lot of empathy during COVID, and has it slipped? Your ability to have empathy for others will take you far. Do you remember what 2020 was like, and the fear and the doubt we had in 2021 and even 2022? This idea of looking at acknowledging what is happening is important. And not everyone will do it. But if you're listening to the sound of my voice, I ask you, what are you doing to face adversity, to acknowledge it? And our job is to learn and grow. And our job is to change. We have to change what we're doing in the world. I have run mastermind groups and facilitations over the years and seen absolute magic when a group of people get together and work together and meet regularly and build the confidence of one another and build the confidence of the importance of the group. And they help solve the biggest adversities, the biggest storms that they face. And I hope that you will continue this journey of facing adversity. And you'll get tools you can use that will help you look at adversity different and serve you for the rest of your life. Or you can stick your head in the sand and let the consequences follow. You can let the consequences follow, or you can learn. In 2013, prior to my cancer, I had the Widowmaker heart attack. 2% chance of survival. I didn't see that one coming either. But it was a huge wake-up call. And I thought I was taking good care of myself, I'll be honest. But I wasn't. I was under too much stress, and I changed a lot of things. And you know what? When I got cancer a year later, the first thing I thought of was, well, I had a heart attack and I survived it. I will find my way through this. I put the skunk on the table about my health in 2013, and I got in better shape and mentally started to understand who I was, because I was in my 50s and I did not see it. I did not expect a heart attack. And through the years, my adversity has gotten more difficult, but in many ways it's gotten easier. And I came to understand the buffalo and the buffalo spirit. So let me explain this buffalo metaphor. The buffalo is the animal that's in the Midwest on the Great Plains, and it's a sacred animal in indigenous cultures. And if the indigenous cultures of this land had to sacrifice a buffalo, they used every part: the horns, the hoofs, the meat, the bones, the fur. And the interesting thing about the buffalo is that in a storm, while other animals run from the storm, the buffalo runs to the storm. Sometimes it races to the storm. And I realized I was a buffalo. Now, I don't actually like being called a buffalo at my age, so I use the Kinyarwanda word imbogo, I-M-V-O-G-O. I am imbogo. And I returned to this metaphor when I had my surgery last February. I was in intensive care for 7 days and I didn't want any visitors, but I created a poster for all the caregivers to sign. And it talked about facing the storm and that they were my imbogo to face the storm. And as I lay there with a tracheostomy, a feeding tube, tubes coming out of every part of my body, I would point to the poster, they would read it and smile, and they would sign it. They became part of my team. and they were my Imbogo. And I look at this poster and it brings me to tears. Everyone from surgeons to cleaning people signed this. No one was without power for me. And there was another poster. This is only one of two that I had. I ran out of room. People were trying to find places to write. And I look at this poster still to this day, and I am reminded that they believed that I could come through the storm. Now, I don't tell you all of this to tell you how strong I am or I am the focus of my own adversity. No, I have come to realize over the last year, I kind of stayed in the closet about all this stuff. I definitely did my heart attack. I didn't talk about that for like 6 months. I wasn't talking a lot about my cancer because who wants to hear about cancer? But I realized as people told me how strong I was, that I needed to tell you how I face the storms and that I learned to advocate for myself, to use my voice, to face my own truth, to get empowering beliefs that I have enough strength for the day, and to seek partners to help me along the way. Let me repeat those. I learned to advocate for myself. I learned to use my own voice. I learned to face my truth. I learned to get empowering beliefs like I have enough strength for the day. And I sought partners along the way. The third part of AdFARsity, the R, stands for recognition. We must recognize the large and small victories and be grateful. When I first got oral cancer, I had no idea what to expect. And I was searching around the internet and I came across this CEO who had throat cancer. And he said something which changed me. He said, listen, do not wait till it's over to celebrate. We always want to finish something. He said, celebrate along the way. Well, I don't mind a lot of attention, but I don't want attention when things are difficult. That's just me. But I tend to push people away in adversity, but instead, I decided to find joy in the smallest of victories. And so I say again, rejoice. Rejoice in the smallest of victories. Greatness lies not in the event, but the attitude of gratitude we hold. For instance, with these new teeth, 3D printed, unbelievable. I can't eat any hard food. But recently I was able to have some warm food in my mouth. And I celebrated like it was a brownie, which is my favorite food in the world. But for me, everything is perspective. I woke up one morning really hungry because it's not easy just to drink shakes and drink liquids, and it gets boring and kind of sad sometimes. But I laid there as I was stomach grumbling, and I thought, some people are this hungry every single day. And I thought, I'll be okay. I'll be able to eat hard food again. And can I tell you, I rejoice at the idea of eating a cheeseburger. When's that going to happen? I don't know. I guess when I can chew concrete like that guy I met in the surgeon's office. But you learn to manage through Stoic philosophy what you can manage and what you can let go of. And as Marcus Aurelius says, if you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. I know this to be true. Dental things and implants is painful. But I read this when I was visiting my prosthodontist the other day, and he had to fool around with my implants, and I just realized it's not what's happening to me, it's how I am taking it that matters. And I had peace. Now, this practice takes a lifetime, but it's worth the effort. I'm not done yet. Got another birthday coming up this month. It's my birthday month. And I want to keep going. I want to keep sharing. And so I have to learn to face adversity in the most powerful way possible. Now back to you. How do you celebrate people in your life? How do you celebrate yourself? What do you wonder about? A couple of months ago, I went to Miraval in Tucson, Arizona, and I went there to get my head on straight for this upcoming implants where they removed all my upper teeth because they were all loose and they put in the implants. And I was so grateful to be there and so thankful. And this is the thing about taking time. I got there and I took the time to be present, to think about my adversity, to acknowledge it, to have faith. And I hit a gong and I took meditation. I sat by the pool. I had treatments. I looked at the food. All my upper teeth were loose. I really couldn't eat well at all then, even before the implants. And though I couldn't eat, I was thankful that everything was so healthy. And there were challenge courses like the Quantum Leap that I talked about that I did years ago there. And there was no drama. There was just a peace that I accepted as I faced my adversity coming up. But in that alignment, in that recognition, I knew I could face the next adversity, which was having my teeth pulled. In the coaching program I'm going to talk about in a little bit, there will be a time, if you participate in the program, to go to Miraval. And I don't know that there's anything better than getting away and meditating and thinking about your life and reflecting and coming back refreshed. That's what vacation is supposed to be. But how often are our vacations too short? Rejoice about other things. A good doctor visit. Every time I submitted a chapter for my thesis, I told John we got to celebrate. He got tired, but he did it anyway. And then I celebrated when I uploaded the whole thesis to Harvard. I celebrated with my family and friends last May when I graduated from Harvard. And I graduated 3 months after my major surgery that paralyzed my face. And I was so thankful to be there. We have to recognize, and we are, those of us who are hard on ourselves, we move on. Thank you, next. What's next? But learn to celebrate the moments. So those are the 3 pillars: faith, acceptance, and recognition. There's so much more to this work than this short talk. But I'm offering a 12-month coaching program that is a deep dive into all of this. It will be a cohort of no more than 8 people. We'll meet once a month on Zoom. We'll meet one-on-one for coaching. We'll have an in-person event in July in Oregon, and then one in Tucson in October. Now, I refuse to hard sell this to you. There is an opportunity to change your life, and I want you to take it. I want you to join me in doing this work. It is the joy of my life to work with clients and to help them face their own adversity. My legacy will be this work. I realized that recently, that I can't hide from my adversity, but I can help others face theirs. So long after I've uttered my last word, the work that we do together will give you courage to face what I preach, because I practice it. The book includes a workbook. It's designed to help you confront your greatest obstacles with greater compassion. And as I said early, I don't know if you remember or not, but one of the greatest adversities we face is self-doubt, worry, fear that we're not good enough, that we can't do it, that we don't have that warrior spirit, that we've been through too much. Adversity is not just health issues or disabilities or loss of a job, but it is all those things too. And this program will help you face it. Now, at the end of this video, there is a free gift. It's a lesson from the AdFARsity program that I want you to take. And in this lesson, you'll fill it out, you'll get a video, and you have a chance to meet with me one-on-one to talk about the work, to talk about anything you want to talk about. I'll give you a free hour, no problem. Because I am interested in your success. I am interested in what you faced. I learned so much. I learned from the women of Rwanda. I learned from the surgeons. I learned from my own walks in faith of trying to decide, how will I ever make it through? But I have, and I do. There'll be guided meditations in the workbook and conversations that are life-changing. Now, the cost of this program, I'm going to be completely transparent, is $12,000 a year. And that's about a third of what I charge for one-on-one coaching, which you can also hire me for. Happy to do that. But you get so much more than just me if you have the wisdom of the people around you. You can pay the $12,000 up front, or $12,000 over 4 payments, or $10,000 up front and be done with it, whatever serves you best. So contact me at Vicki@VictoriaTrabosh for more details. I'm starting another group this month. And as a free gift, I've attached this lesson I hope will give you a deep dive into it. And please, let me know if you'd like to have a discussion about it. I hope this video has brought you value. It brings me great joy to do this for you. And I will stay on the line if you have any questions. I don't know, James, who is my technology wizard and engineer and friend. Thank you, James, for everything you've done to make this video successful today. And I hope you all found this video helpful and valuable. And as I want to change the world in my own way, with my own tools, I want you to as well. Let me end with an African prayer that says, take care of the children, for they have a long way to go. Take care of the elders, for they have come a long way. And take care of those in between, for they are doing the work. Thank you for doing the work. I'll talk to you soon.